join as we progress. So thank you all so much for joining us today to learn more about the Washington Media Scholars Foundation. My name is Tori McMichael, and I am the Executive Director of the Foundation. I'm excited to have two professors with us today who have been longtime supporters of our programs and have both had students go through our media case competition and even win the Excellence in Media award. So first we have Jay Newell from Iowa State University, and he's also joined today by one of his students, Megan Grothaus, who was a 2023 Media Scholar. And then we have Jason Freeman from Brigham Young University, and he also has a student of his with him today, Shelby Moore, who was a 2024 Media Scholar. So I'm going to let them do most of the talking today, but just to get us started, I want to just share a little bit of information about our foundation. So in 2009, Robin D. Roberts, who is the founder and CEO of National Media Research Planning and Placement, wanted to show his appreciation for all of the professional support that he had been given throughout the years. And so his way of giving back was to establish the Washington Media Scholars Foundation. So in our 15 years, we have worked very hard to bridge the gap between academic learning and real-world experience through both the Media Case Competition and the Media Fellows Scholarship. We have supported over 900 students in our 15 years in over 260 colleges and universities across the country and raised over $3.5 million in scholarship and student support. We have two main initiatives. I'm going to let Jay and Jason speak mostly about Media Scholars, but I do want to make you aware of our Media Fellows essay-based scholarship program. This is awarded to students based on academic merit and financial need. Students who are in communications, media studies, advertising, marketing, public policy, government, those related studies. They submit an essay about their career goals and academic experience and their need for support, along with a resume and a letter of recommendation. And there's a portal on our website, and I will make sure that you have access to that address. Our next deadline is December 2nd. It's a $1,500 scholarship, one-time scholarship. And in 2024, we're proud to say that by the end of the year, we will have awarded 90 Media Fellows scholarships. So I encourage you to share that information with your students so that they are able to apply. Then our main initiative is Media Scholars, and that's the media case competition. That is where students develop a strategic media plan based on a public policy issue using realistic but fictitious data. This multi-layered competition culminates in a week-long trip to Washington, D.C., I should say an all-expense paid week-long trip to Washington, D.C., where they participate in networking events and their final round of competition, and then $18,500 in scholarships. This year's Media Scholars Week is June 9th through 13th. And we'll talk more about specific dates and deadlines and those things throughout the presentation. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jay so that he can tell you a little bit about the structure and overview of the media case competition.
Okay. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Just a little bit of background. I've been involved with Media Scholars since 2013, 2014. So about 10, 11 years. I was a professor at Iowa State University. I just retired, and I'm staying involved with Media Scholars as a member of their board. In the time I had students participating, and Megan is here today to give kind of a first person view of it. We've had about 18 students go to the finals of the media competition. I'll explain in a second how that all works. But one of the cool things about the competition is that all those students who participated and all the universities behind them that participated, no one paid anything to go. No one paid anything to participate. This organization is entirely funded by sort of the DC political media ecosystem. So, that's Google and large companies you've heard of and small companies that you haven't. And what that does is it creates a competition which is really open and easy to participate by any school, any student, even solo students. So there are 3 rounds in the competition. The first qualifying round is really short. It takes a couple of hours to do. It's a short little case. It doesn't assume any knowledge in media planning or anything like that. It's got explainer material that goes through it. And in years past, what the students had to do was cook up a little tiny media plan and explain why they liked it. And I believe the specs for last year were 2 pages to talk about it, and then fill in an Excel sheet. There are somewhere between 90 to 200 teams, and by the way, the students work in teams of 2, who have participated in that qualifying round. That gets winnowed down very quickly to a semifinal round, and 30 teams are invited to participate in that. And for in that round, students get a more engaged case. By the way, the cases are nonpartisan. They don't lean Democrat or Republican. They tend to be public policy sorts of cases. In the last couple of years, it was one on pharmacy. Megan worked on that one. Last year it was about online sports gaming, which was really cool. So stuff that students can dig into. They get a case, they get the data for the case. It's complete. They get explainers on how to do it. They get an Excel sheet that they fill in. So it ends up being very much of a strategic sort of process where they're thinking big picture about, okay, how am I going to get this idea across to a selected public that I have to select? So it's political communication 101. I think the final book, presentation book that the students typically do is maybe 8, 10, 12 pages tops. So it's looks good. It's a ton of work. It gets done typically the week before most schools have spring break, and again they're working in teams of 2. After that, those 30 those semifinal cases are brought down to 6. 6 cases are chosen, and those 12 students who worked on those 6 cases get an invitation to go to DC for a week. That's called Scholars Week, and it's an experience that is very, very hard to communicate the quality of it. They're brought around to the big media companies. They're brought around to the consultancies. They're brought to baseball games. They're brought to the Capitol. They're treated like royalty. And it's all paid for by Washington Media Scholars. There's again no fundraising. Some students get jobs or internships right out of that week. They are picking up cards like crazy. Um, I heard some feedback here. Are we okay for everything? I'm going to assume we are.
We're good.
We're good. Okay, good, good. And then that's Media Scholars Week. At the end of Media Scholars Week, one of the teams is chosen as first place, gets a very large scholarship. Another team is chosen as runner-ups, also gets a large scholarship. Sometimes, if there's budget available, all the teams there are given scholarships. They see their names in the paper and they go back just absolutely supercharged. They see some of the individuals see their careers, their professional communication careers are starting from that moment. Some stay in the DC area. We've had several students do that. Others go and just take what they learn into other fields. So it's a very cool event, and I've been just thrilled to be a part of it for all these years. Did I miss anything, Tori?
Yep, we're good here. If you're ready for me to move on to the next slide.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. You going to share here as well, Jay?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit here about that. Okay, so the learning outcome from this, and this slide kind of a few things to add so you can, read that. It's very much like an SAC or the Effie Awards in terms of what students get out of it. However, they get it quite a bit quicker. It's a very short uh, season in that that qualifying case, which again only takes a few hours to do, is announced usually in October. It's due in January. Tori will go through, all the dates. They have to, the teams that are qualifying are turning around very quickly until March. They have between January and end of January and March to finish up. And then prepping for that final week for those teams that are lucky enough to get into the finals happens in May. So it happens in kind of a narrow window, which is really great because it does fit into the semester pretty well, and Jason's going to talk about that. While it's sponsored by media planning, uh, it tends to be much more, students need to be much more strategic than just figuring out what's the optimum, buy or something like that. They really have to think about who they're talking to, how they're going to sell whatever idea it is, how they're going to represent their client. So it tends to be a very real world sort of thing. Um, the benefits for students, networking. Let me expand on that a little bit. Um, Washington Media Scholars Foundation is at the center of this DC political ecosystem, which spreads out through the country. The professionals that the students meet are the ones spending, I said, something like $2 or $3 billion this year in political advertising. And what that tends to do is it attracts the sales managers and the consultants and everyone else who's involved in political communication from across the country. And there's an event within that Scholars Week that brings all those people together, where they might have 2, 3, 4, 500 professionals meeting these students. So it tends to be a very, very real world experience. The thing that I see from my students is really a lot of capacity building. Their self-confidence goes from, well, they're students and they've learned how to get through school and well enough, but they know there's this big scary world beyond that. And they realize, hey, wait a minute, I can handle this big scary world. I went in there, I stood toe to toe with the adults. I could talk to them, they could talk to me, we could treat each other like people, and it all went fine. So to me, that's one of the best benefits for that, is that capacity building for your students. That's really all I wanted to say about that. Tori, back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jay. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and he's going to talk a little bit about how professors can get involved and how you can support your students. Jason, you're still muted.
Apologize. Thank you so much, Tori. I'm going to echo a little bit of what Jay was saying with some of my remarks. He's very seasoned in having engaged with the Washington Media Scholars Foundation. I'm a little bit newer to this, and in just the last few years, have started doing this a lot with our students here at BYU. And so I'm excited to just share a little bit of my experience and the experience that our students have had, and hopefully help you just understand just why this is such a great opportunity for students. And so the big thing is we're all teaching in different types of departments. We're structured in different ways, but I like the Washington Media Scholars Foundation because it brings in a very interdisciplinary kind of group of people. So yeah, certainly the traditional kind of comms advertising programs with a media program, which is more kind of where I'm coming from. But then we're talking about business programs, political science majors, those that connect to media more broadly. And what we've seen is even some of the best teams that show up might have it where one student of a team of two is from one background and another student is from a completely different background. And sometimes bringing those together, kind of two different minds, two different ways of thinking about things, has some really strong impacts. So I think, first start with the students that are immediately within kind of your purview, and make this available to them, but then realize that you can also connect to other, you know, interdisciplinary departments or other groups across your campus to help engage them in something like this. So that's been really neat to just see. And I think one thing, and I'm sure Jay would echo this, but just being a part of this is really cool because it's all these universities coming together and seeing students from all different backgrounds, and everybody comes from a little different program, but everybody comes to this moment, and it's a very professional, collegial kind of environment. So really, really enjoy that aspect of it too. One thing that I've found is every time that I've done this competition with students, it's been different. So, so with students, I believe that if you give them the vision and the excitement about this, their intellect and their passion can take them most of the way there. I've had this where I've built it into the structure of a class, and I've also done it where the students are taking part in the competition outside of the class, even with limited background in media or looking at spreadsheets. And I will even say, as a professor, it's okay if you're not a hardcore, media teacher or whatever. Part of it is just doing it. Part of my advice is just, the Nike example of just do it and put yourself out there. And it's one thing I admire about our student Shelby, who we'll talk to you in a minute, is that she, as any opportunity has come up in our program, she's just raised her hand and said, "I want to do it. Let's do this." And I think that kind of spirit and that kind of attitude um, goes really far in this type of a competition. So there are some teams where I've been a little bit more, meet with them very often and give them feedback, and others that are so driven and excited that they're kind of really the dominant drivers in this. And that's been fun to watch, just kind of how different groups approach this. So, I think there's some relevant resources that WMSF provides over the course of the year, some webinar series. Kind of Tori does a really great job organizing these just to help faculty understand different phases of this competition, what's expected, what goes into this. And so as you're advising, and especially if you're new to this as an advisor, I think it's really, you get that information as you go. And my advice again would just be to jump in and just do it. Again, I talked briefly about integrating this into the classroom. I have found that I have several assignments that I teach regularly where this is just a perfect, uh, you know, uh, pairing of adding to what I'm teaching or even substituting something that I had previously. Students will ask you again and again, and they always do, how does this connect to what I'm doing next? And Washington Media Scholars Foundation is really good at helping bridge that school to career journey. And so what I really like here is just that when you can embed something into your classroom that says, no, this is a real project. This is something that you would take seriously. It's a little bit different than I made this up and I'm making you do it. It's got some teeth to it, and then it also shows these students that once they engage and get out there, that the things that they're doing in the classroom aren't just at their university, but that it's actually what others are doing in the discipline and more broadly, and they can kind of attach why they're doing what they're doing to their futures, and that's always really powerful. So. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but my biggest piece of advice is to just do it. Just get people doing it.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason. Okay, so one thing I do want to just tag on to that really quickly that I neglected to mention earlier. We said that the trip is an all expense paid week for the students, and I do want to add on that we do provide a stipend for the advisors to attend Media Scholars Week with their students. We pay for 2 nights of hotel stay so that you can be here when they do their final presentation, and also a small travel stipend, because we do think it's important for you. You spent all this time working with them through this project to be able to be here and see them do their final presentation and enjoy some of the networking events along with your students. So then, Jay, if you could add a little bit about, I know that there's lots of opportunities that professors are presented with, for their students, and what are the benefits and why should they participate in the Media Scholars Media Case Competition?
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I'm a big believer in these sort of in these sort of contests. Um, the biggest skill, and this may be specific to my cohort of students, but it may be something that you guys deal with as well, is creating an environment where students learn to use information, they learn to use evidence, we'll call it data, sometimes call it numbers and really scare a few of them off, in terms to make their case to make their recommendations. Many of the students that I would deal with over my career were students who had learned that I feel, I think, or I believe was all they needed to do to get an idea, to sell an idea. And in the profession, we know better. And so that's the biggest transition that students get in this professional development, at least that I've seen. And of course, I talked about the self-confidence a bit earlier. The engagement part goes beyond the students working together. There are no rules about bringing in some outside experts. So, for instance, in the years that I've worked with students, I'll have a subject matter expert. So, for instance, Megan's team, she had a pharmaceutical case, and well, we had a former student who was a big cheese in the pharmaceutical industry. She sat down with them and told them what it's like being in the industry, the language they use, the issues that they deal with. So the students get to engage not only with the numbers, not only with the case, but they can also engage with the world beyond, a world beyond the case. The two-person team structure, which is very flexible. The two people don't even necessarily have to come from the same institution, means both the students have to step up to get the job done. And I've seen year after year, and I'm sure Steve has seen this, same thing where you might have a student who's really, really hot stuff on the planning part of things, and maybe the writing, and then the other student will step up and just be a whiz at presentations and making ideas come to life. So that goes there. Institutional assessment. Some of us come from schools that have accreditation interests. One of the cool things about contests in general is that they are assessment indicators. They're called indirect assessment because they don't apply to every one of the students in the program, but they're a good way of seeing how your program stacks up against others and how it deals with the issues there. Not on the slide, but a big deal is tenure and promotion. That because this is also an outside event, that coaching successfully for these outside events looks really good on a CV. It shows you can teach. It shows you're engaged with the media industry. It shows you think about you're effective in your teaching there. And I used it. I'll be honest. I used the success of the students to help make my case for full professor, and my gosh, it worked. So that sort of visibility that comes from being in a competition tends to have a lot of benefits at the university level, a lot more benefits at the school level, the program level, and even more benefits at the at the personal level. So again, big believer in that. Tori?
Right, thank you. Okay, so both Jay and Jason have referred to some of their students who have participated in the program, and I'm really excited to have two of them with us today. Shelby was a 2024 Media Scholar and also a winner of the Media and Excellence Award. So she and her teammate won first place in the competition, and that was not only that recognition, but a $5,000 scholarship for each of them. And then Megan Grothaus was a 2023 Media Scholar, also the recipient of the Excellence in Media Award. She and her teammate Adriana both winning the $5,000 scholarship as well. So I'm going to ask them to share a little bit about, I mean, Jason and Jay have done a great job of sharing their perspective as professors, but I think there's a lot of benefit to hearing from the students and what their experience with the program. So I'm going to let you guys jump in here. If one of you wants to start first.
Perfect. I can go for it. Thank you so much, Tori. Just for a little bit of context, my name is Shelby Moore, and I'm a senior in the BYU advertising program, and I'm focusing on strategy. And I just can't emphasize enough how incredible of an opportunity this was for me. Just as a little bit of background, I was definitely one of those students who went in not really knowing that much about media buying before. So I was so grateful that Jason like reached out to us and gave us the opportunity and then was willing to like coach us along the way. But it just gave me even like the process of doing it before getting to the actual competition was such a good opportunity to learn something new that I think will really benefit me in my career and kind of like opened up um, a whole new world to me. I also really liked this competition because there were like obviously very specific like guidelines, but also there was a lot of freedom, which I think made it a really enjoyable process and really fun to like work with my partner on so that we could kind of bring our different strengths to it and like learn what was really interesting to us. So then finally getting to Washington was just every moment was really like a pinch me moment. We were able to brush shoulders with incredible media professionals. We were kind of, I got a much better idea of what was possible for my career. And then just getting to make like those connections with industry leaders has already helped me as I'm like preparing to look for a job. In my group, at least, there were people who were already seniors, like about to graduate, and juniors like me. And I think it was like equally valuable to all of us. Um, but just being there, like I can't emphasize enough how incredible the experience was. And I think everyone who was there, whether they ended up winning or not, really left feeling like they had won because there was just the opportunities were incredible. Getting to kind of be part of the WMSF network, whether it was with the students that were there in my group or the networking opportunities, um, I've already seen that like blessing my life. And I really think that it will continue to as I enter the job market. I just really can't like emphasize how grateful that I am. I'm really grateful I had professors who like told me about it and coached me through it. The scholarship was really like life changing for me in my last year of college, and Tori and her team just worked so tirelessly to make it such an incredible experience. And like really, I consider my experience with WMSF to be one of the most transformative and impactful like opportunities of my college career. So I feel like if you have students you think would be interested, just giving them the opportunity is just so incredible for them because it really has changed and blessed my life.
Oh, thank you, Shelby.
Yeah, I mean, Shelby covered it really well, just the extreme impact of it. I can speak from my experience. So I actually graduated this past semester, or in December. It's been a couple semesters, geez. Um, and I have now entered the workforce. And Washington Media Scholars was a huge benefit for me right before I did that. So I hadn't done any media planning either. My first media planning class was Jay's class, and he introduced me to all the different vocab that is now really important that I know. Um, and I think that Jason mentioned this earlier, just like Shelby being a student who's willing to raise their hand and take on those extra opportunities. I think that for me during my time in college, those extra opportunities were by far the most beneficial things that you can do. So for professors bringing those to you, that is so huge because some students will go out and maybe try to find those, but if a professor can bring that directly to their students, it's just a huge benefit because you know the professor is going to work with you on something, you know it's going to be a positive experience. And I just think you learn so much from doing those outside of the classroom things where you can take what you've been learning sitting at a desk and actually do something with it, learn what you don't know, and just learn like and just get better at what you do know. So I think for me that was huge. It was just taking this on. Like I said, you learn what you don't know really fast, and that really helps you progress like in your career and everything. So that was really great. Getting to Washington was amazing. That's how Jay really sold it to me, was there was a free trip to Washington. So that's an easy way to sell your students on it. Um, and winning was amazing, but I think the most benefit came from just the week of being around all those other students who were extremely motivated, meeting all the kids from the other schools. My year also had some students from BYU who were awesome. I love meeting them. And you just learn so much from all the industry professionals that you get to meet as well. And what stood out to me was the networking felt real. I think a lot of times you might get handed a card in situations like, oh, yeah, reach out to me. But in this case, it was truly genuine from every person who handed you a card, that they truly meant they want you to connect with them. They want to reach out to you. And that's huge when you're trying to jumpstart a career right out of college. So I think that that's what stood out to me, was how much everyone really wanted to help you, and then just how much you learned from the whole thing. I ended up getting my job from a media scholar who was, I think, maybe 2014. The 2014 media scholar reached out to Tori with, hey, I have this job. And Tori sent it out, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. So I said, I would love to meet with that person. And now she's my boss. So I think that it definitely was a benefit for me. I have my job now because of it. And I learned a lot through the whole thing.
Thank you, Megan. That is one of my favorite uh, sort of alumni connection stories. So we do have, in addition to all of the networking with media professionals, we, now that we've been around for 15 years and we've helped over 900 students, we have a strong alumni network, and they're just as eager, if not more so, than the industry professionals to get to meet our scholars. And it's kind of fun for me to see when we have a large networking event in Media Scholars Week. It's the last event of the week after the competition is over, and we've had the awards luncheon, and now we're going to just relax and celebrate their hard work. And we have, close to 300, if not more, industry professionals who come to what we call our networking reception, and they're so eager to be the first ones to get their hands on these talented students that have just come through our program to get, they're looking to bring them into their um, post-grad career opportunities and internships and things like that. So that's the benefit of sponsorship is that they get to come to this networking event and meet with the scholars and have first dibs. So I'm just going to briefly go over the schedule quickly and then open this up to anybody who has questions. So we will be releasing the qualifying round on the 26th, which is next Friday. The reason that we try to get that out early, it used to be more like October or November. We've tried to push that up a little bit because sometimes, as Jason mentioned, professors like to incorporate it into their curriculum. So we like to get it out as early as possible so that you have the opportunity to do that if you would like to. We will hold an informational session on the 14th, and that will be for students who are interested. Professors are welcome to attend that. We'll talk a little bit more specifically about the qualifying round at that time, what the expectations are, offer resources, that kind of thing. I threw in there the Media Fellows due date because I do encourage you to share that with your students. Then we will hold another informational session on the 15th. Will be similar to the 14th, just another date for that opportunity. The qualifying round is due on the 2nd of February, and we get those out back to students very quickly. We turn around those semifinal announcements very quickly to try to give you as much time as possible. So by the 7th, semifinalists will be announced, and then the final case that they're to work on will be presented then. The semifinal case documents are due on the 23rd. I don't have listed in there because we don't have the date solidified yet, but there will be informational sessions between the announcement of the semifinals and when their documents are due so that they can have that same support that was provided during the qualifying round. Then we will announce the finalists by April 4th. On the 19th and 20th of May, we do virtual sessions, and that's sort of all you need to know about Media Scholars Week. And then some of our sponsors who are not in the DC area and won't be attending Media Scholars Week, they do some virtual sessions to share their company info and insights with our scholars. And then Media Scholars Week is June 9th through the 13th. And we fly the students in on that Sunday. And Beckett and Shelby can tell you that we hit the ground running that night. We do try to incorporate some fun. We take them on a monuments tour. We've been last 2 years, the Washington Nationals hosted us at a baseball game, even gave us a tour of their media department, got to meet with their advertising department. So that was an added bonus. And then we are media visit after media visit, lots of professional development, even a professional etiquette class, which, I think at first some of the students are like, you think that's going to be just about which fork to use, which it is, but it is so much more than that. And so we are very busy that entire week. And I think that that week, that culminating week, is really what makes this competition stand out among others. So I want to open up the floor now to anybody who has any questions. Feel free to just turn on your microphone and ask.
Hello, Mo Cleave with the University of Idaho. I have a quick question. You mentioned that the finals are in the middle of June at some point. Do when if students graduate in at the end of, well, in the middle of May or so, you will still allow them to participate in the finals even if they're already in the professional world?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So yes, so if they have graduated in May, yes, they can still participate. So students who have already graduated, typically we send the scholarship funds directly to the school. If they have already graduated, then we send the funds to them. And that's another reason why we get the date out early. So if they are, they've moved into, they've already secured their position after school, they know about those dates ahead of time. But yes, if they are graduating in May, they are still eligible to participate. Any undergraduate student is eligible to participate.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And one thing I will touch on that wasn't mentioned specifically by me earlier, and I just want to clarify, is that when we mentioned that these are teams of two. So for the qualifying round, students can participate by themselves. They can submit a qualifying round document on their own. And then if they move on to the semifinal round, we will try to pair them with another student who submitted alone, or they can at that point look for a partner within their university. But for the semifinal round and the finalists, they are teams of two. We have had teams in the past where the teammates never met until they got to Washington, especially now in a post-COVID world where we're also familiar with Zoom and Google Meet. The students work together virtually and then come together in DC and present their final project. The winning team from 2022 was a team like that. One was in California, one was in Virginia, and they not only were they had never met, but they weren't even in the same time zone. So they managed to work together really well during that virtual work, and then came to DC, met for the first time, and won the competition. So there are opportunities that, as Jay mentioned, you do not have to be at the same university to participate together. And we've reached out before and said we have a student from this school who's looking for a partner, and we reach out to our network of professors, and they have, well, I also have a student who's looking for a partner, and then we can put those two together and go from there.
I have another question to the students or the former participants in the competition. How much did you receive some sort of help or involvement from your instructors versus how much was it all on your own? Kind of. I don't know if that question makes sense. I hope you know what I mean.
I think that Jay really kind of let our team kind of work by ourselves as much as we wanted, but he was always there to, look through our work when we were done with it. If we wanted him to review it, he always would. And we had resources from past students who had done it. They would always be willing to help us as well. So I think that it's for my team, it was always very much in our ball was in our court of how much we wanted our professor to be involved. And we'd send it over to Jay always to read through it and just make sure, first of all, there was just no glaring, just grammar errors. He would make sure for that, but he was always there to read through all of our work. But I mean, mostly he let us kind of learn on our own, figure things out on our own. So I think it was a really good balance.
Yeah, I would say that our experience was similar too. Jason was always there to talk things through with us. Sometimes we'd get stuck or have like a couple different like avenues we were trying to decide between, and he was super great about meeting with us and like talking it through and looking over what we were doing. But it was very much like led by us, and my partner and I, we would meet on our own all the time, and then just like every now and then come to Jason and be like, "Are we on the right track? Like, what are you thinking of this?" And that worked really well for our team.
Do you mind if I jump in on that too for a second, Mo? So yeah, I every time that I've done it, like I said, kind of when as I was speaking, the students have been a little bit different, but I was actually on paternity leave during winter, and so I let Shelby and her teammate Abby know that I was available, but I also have a new little baby, and so I'm going to be mostly doing that. And they were just I think that's the thing is they take such ownership over it, and you're there to kind of support and to cheerlead and to, give advice and some thinking, but it really is theirs. And even there were a few times along the way where they're truly closer to it than I am, right? In terms of the case and the details and stuff, to where they wanted to take it one way, and if I was a little bit nervous and hesitant of is that the right direction? But ultimately it's their choices and their decisions, and our these students did such a good job making the right choice in the right situations, and so I think that's what's so fun is just watching them kind of grow into it, and then you're there to help with certain like concepts or thinking through things, or just bouncing questions off of them to get them to think about things differently. So it's very much just I think kind of being excited for them and having the right energy for them, and then giving some input when appropriate.
Awesome. Thank you. It sounds like I'm the faculty instructor here for our National Student Advertising Competition, and it sounds very similar to that, but with more of a public policy focus, obviously. So, um, thank you.
Can I say one more thing and then I'll stop talking? I was a couple of things that I think they alluded to this, but the students when they're out there in DC, the experience that they get is unbelievable, and the ratio of students to professionals is insane. So like when you compare it to like an AAF like NSAC or another type of competition, which those are obviously also great and so many participate in those and provides a really great experience. But at those, I've noticed that, for example, we took a bunch of students up this last year to one of those, and there's some professionals there to meet with the students, but there's a lot more students there to meet with the professionals. And this is flipped where when they go out there, the professionals are there waiting for them to network with them and to get to know them and build relationships with them. And the spotlight is on the students. And that's really, really cool to see kind of how these students are almost put on the spot all week. They have to be on their A game, and be ready to connect with professionals, and it just gives them a different type of opportunity that I think is really, really neat.
I'm going to just jump in here really quick and answer a couple questions that came up in the chat that are related to the Media Fellows scholarship. So the first question was if that is only for students in strategic media rather, and advertising. And so the answer to that question is no. That scholarship is open to students in all aspects of media studies, advertising, marketing, public policy, government, anything that's sort of related into those fields. So we have students who receive Media Fellow scholarships that are more interested in, say, becoming a news broadcaster or being someone who's behind the camera or someone who's in social media marketing. It's a much larger, broad sort of net of students in the Media Fellows application. And then the second question is there's any kind of mentorship involved in the Media Fellows. So that is a recent addition to our Media Fellows program where we do have a mentor program for seniors prior to graduation where they work with a media professional from our sponsors who helps give them professional advice and gears them towards their post-grad career. So that's hopefully I answered those questions in enough detail. Any other questions? Okay, so I did record today's session. So I will send all of that. I will send that recording as well as this slide deck to you after our session tonight. This is my contact information here, so please feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions. And I will now make sure that you are on our email list so that you receive any upcoming updates and information. I also highly recommend that you follow us on social media. One thing that's been happening a lot lately that's really fun to see on our Instagram is this year's media fellows have been doing social media takeovers and sharing sort of a day in the life on campus from lots of different schools. And so that's really great to see. So I would encourage you to follow that and sort of see who some of our media fellows are. The other person on contact information here, that is Ben Engel. He works for National Media Research Planning and Placement. He's been with the foundation since its inception in 2009, and he is the lead case writer. He writes the media case that the students participate in. And he is also the chair of our advisory committee. He was not able to join us this evening, but his contact information is there as well, and you feel free to reach out to him. This QR code will take you directly to our website where you can find more information. There's a tab for media scholars, a tab for media fellows that should give you lots of information. But again, please reach out to me if you have specific questions. Another thing that you can take a look at on our website is our sponsor page. That will give you an idea of some of the companies that were there that our scholars got to meet with when we had our networking reception and sort of see the wide cast of companies that are involved with our foundation. Jason, Jay, can you think of anything I may have forgotten?
It's just such a terrific experience, and I'm certainly available, and Jason as well. I'm sure to answer any questions. There are about, I don't know, 180, 200 students who've been through this program, the competition over the years,
Well, yeah, if you think
and
15
the
years
finalists.
of
Yeah.
students, yeah.
And then hundreds more who have participated in the qualification rounds. And they all have nice, it's been a game changer, a life changer for so many of them. It's just an honor to and a pleasure to be part of it. So, Tori, thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and I will echo some of that as well, just in terms of this has been one of the most impactful, exciting things to be a part of since joining BYU and watching these students pre and post their experience with Washington Media Scholars Foundation. It's, going in, you can kind of describe just how impactful and meaningful this experience could and would be for them if they take advantage of it. But then on the other end of it, you really do see just how valuable it is to them and their experience. So I think just that excitement of seeing your students grow and do things and have experiences, and that's what it's all about. And so really appreciative to Washington Media Scholars on their level of just coordination and planning and carrying out such a well-oiled, well-executed competition, and Tori drives so much of that, and the team there, and so it's just been amazing for the students, and it's one of those things that we'll continue to do because of what it's meant to the students that have taken part. So. And then again, as Jay mentioned, if there's any questions that people have or follow up, they want to talk things through, I'm more than happy to connect.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Again, please reach out with any questions. I look forward to working with you and your students in the future. Again, I'm just going to throw out one last plug. Media Fellows applications are due on December 2nd, and we will be launching the media case qualifying round next Friday. We'll announce it on our website and our social media, so please stay tuned for that. And I hope you all, I'm just going to check and see if these are any questions real quick. Okay.
When will you share this video, or when will you
Yes.
share this video?
I will email this video and this slide deck out uh, in honesty tomorrow. I don't know that I'll
Okay,
do it
perfect.
tonight,
Thank
but
you
I
so
will send
much.
it out to you tomorrow. Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
of course. Again, thank you all for coming. Jay, Jason, Megan, Shelby, thank you all for your time and for all of your insights. And everybody have a fantastic semester. Except Jay, enjoy retirement.